So as always, follow that comment back to the original video for full context. This is actually part of my friend Kyle Doan Sensei's recent Q&A series here on TikTok, but I thought this was a good topic to discuss. So the question asks, what has caused the general martial arts community to look down on karate in comparison to other martial arts? What is the ultimate reason why people deem karate to be ineffective? And this is honestly a fairly nuanced subject, and you could say a lot of different things contributed, but to me, it really boils down to two main things. The first being the popularization of a children's version of karate, and the second being frauds and scam artists. So when I talk about the popularization of children's karate, it tends to upset a lot of people because they don't feel like the karate that they do is children's karate. But when you really look at the sort of lineages of karate and how karate developed, most of the karate that is popular today is really children's karate. And that's not to say that it's necessarily a bad practice or something that you shouldn't be doing, but we should be realistic about what it is. The biggest and most obvious example of this is the point fighting tournament rule set, which is essentially a game of tag that you play with punches and kicks. When you see a large karate class with people standing in lines in a nice strong stance, throwing 1,000 punches in a class, that's actually children's karate. That was developed by Itosu Anko to teach to children in the Okinawan school system to prepare them for military service. The same thing is true if you see them practicing kata, but they never practice applications for those kata, or the applications that they practice wouldn't actually work against any realistic attack in a self-defense situation. This also manifests itself in the partner drills that you tend to see in these karate schools. They will be very formalized. It will look nothing like a self-defense drill. It will also look nothing like a sparring drill. And it's so sterilized that you're effectively not getting any combative benefit out of it at all. And the fundamentals that they believe are being worked in these drills really aren't being worked in any meaningful way. But perhaps the biggest and most obvious example of children's karate is the point fighting tournament rule set, which was actually developed after World War II. It's quite a new practice, and it's based on kendo, the fighting with a bamboo sword, which is why the tournament rule set for point fighting has you at such a long distance and is so focused on getting in to land one clean strike and getting away without getting hit. That is what you do when you're fighting with a sword. And that was essentially developed so that the karate clubs in high schools and universities in Japan could have some sort of competition that young Japanese men could use to blow off steam. Now, there are obviously karate schools that do not fall into these practices that aren't really considered to be children's karate. But these are essentially the hallmarks of mainstream karate. And that's because they became very popular through school-based clubs and through being spread by Western soldiers after World War II who were stationed in Japan, learned that type of karate while they were there, and then brought it home. And if you look at these practices from the perspective of another martial art, which is very focused on competition fighting, it makes sense that to them, it would seem like you're wasting a whole bunch of time. You're doing drills that don't reflect the type of fighting that you're going to do, or any type of fighting for that matter. You're spending a lot of time drilling basics out of context, so you don't really have a way to apply them. And the sparring that you do doesn't reflect pretty much any other type of fighting except that particular rule set. So it understandably, from their perspective, doesn't look very effective. When it comes down to it, if we as karate practitioners want karate to be seen as an effective martial art, we need to understand that a lot of the popular practices in karate today are not actually practical for a martial art. They were invented for non-combative reasons, and we need to get our art back to its combative roots as an effective system for self-defense, law enforcement, and security work, because that's what it was designed for. Now, that's going to mean dropping or altering a bunch of training exercises and drills that don't really develop combative skills. It's going to mean actually exploring your kata in a practical way so that you can derive effective fighting applications from it and then drill those with a partner. And it's going to mean incorporating a lot of different sparring methods besides point sparring in order to have a well-rounded martial education. Now, as I mentioned, the second reason that I believe a lot of people see karate as ineffective is because of all of the frauds and scam artists who have made names for themselves in the karate community. And that's something that happens in all martial arts to varying degrees, but karate has been around in the West a little bit longer than some of the other martial arts, and so it's had more time to accumulate these types of people. And unfortunately, because so many karate schools fall into the children's karate camp, there's not a good mechanism for weeding these people out as there is in something like judo or Brazilian jiu-jitsu, where you have to compete at a high level in order to earn high-level ranks. We don't have that in karate. It's not a competition-based system, and so there's no universal ranking. On top of that, as a traditional martial art, a lot of karate practitioners have the mindset of live and let live. They don't want to call out bad practices or fraud or scam artists because it doesn't affect them personally. And that mindset is actually so strong that a lot of karate practitioners actually get upset when people like me call out bad practices and fraud because it doesn't affect me, so why am I getting involved? And unfortunately, that allows these people to thrive. A popular example would be the McDojo, and this term is often misused. People will call any martial arts school that they think is bad a McDojo, and in reality, what makes a school a McDojo isn't the quality of the martial arts, it's the focus on earning money over everything else, and the ways they go about doing that. They trap people into contracts, they find all sorts of ways to charge extra fees for things. They only allow you to buy things through them. They can't let you buy equipment from anyone else. They develop all these different clubs and extras for you to buy and add on to your normal classes, that sort of thing. Now, often McDojos teach bad martial arts because they don't care about the quality of the martial arts. They're trying to make money. But it is possible to teach good martial arts and still be a McDojo. That's something that a lot of people have an issue with. And of course, the other example is going to be people like George Dillman, who are going out there making all kinds of insane claims that you can knock people out without touching them and disrupt their chi, and you can knock people unconscious through walls and all sorts of other nonsense. And this isn't exclusive to karate. You see it in kung fu systems like yellow bamboo. It's in Aikido with the claims that the founder of Aikido could levitate and teleport. This sort of stuff is all over the place. And just like McDojo practices, if it's not being called out, people from other martial arts are going to look at that as our tacit approval. If we are karate practitioners, allowing other karate practitioners to make obviously false claims about the art, and we're not calling them out, then from the perspective of people in other martial arts, we are just as bad because we're essentially saying, yeah, no, that sounds legit. So in my opinion, we as traditional martial artists need to stop taking the live and let live approach when things don't affect our own personal training. Just because it doesn't affect us personally doesn't mean it's not affecting our art as a whole.